All right, so you're here because you want to understand weight loss
Mhm.
and how your metabolism works.
Yeah.
But maybe you don't want to wade through a ton of complex scientific details. This is your fast track to the most crucial information. Today's deep dive is all about two powerful hormones.
That's right.
They are produced by your gut
Yeah.
in response to food,
Uh-huh.
GLP-1 and GIP.
You got it.
Tiny
Okay.
messengers with a huge influence on how your body uses energy.
Absolutely. We're talking about glucagon-like peptide 1, that's GLP-1, and GIP, glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide.
Okay.
They're what we call incretin hormones, released when you eat. And our goal today, to unpack the most vital knowledge about them, how they regulate your metabolism and impact weight. We'll be looking at the science and exploring potential natural ways to support their function.
Perfect. Two main sources for our deep dive today. First, we're diving into the fundamentals of how GLP-1 and GIP work, both individually and together. Then we'll explore potential natural ingredients that might encourage those hormones to work optimally.
Great plan.
So let's start with GLP-1. Okay. It's become quite a buzzword in weight management these days. What's the most crucial thing to understand about it?
Well, the key with GLP-1 is its triple action. It curbs hunger, it prolongs that feeling of fullness, and it optimizes blood sugar, all without the risk of hypoglycemia or low blood sugar.
I see.
One of its main roles is acting on the hypothalamus in your brain, that's your appetite control center, sends a signal to reduce hunger and boost satiety.
Okay.
It's like your body's natural cue saying, hey, you've had enough.
Right, like a built-in signal. And I think it's fascinating that GLP-1 doesn't just affect that immediate feeling of fullness, right? It actually affects how long food stays in your stomach.
Exactly. It slows down gastric emptying. So the longer the food stays in your stomach, the longer you feel satisfied after eating.
Oh, wow.
Which, of course, can impact how much you eat overall.
Makes sense. So it's like a double benefit.
Yeah.
Less initial hunger and then prolonged satisfaction. But we also know that GLP-1 plays a big role in blood sugar, too.
Yes, absolutely.
How does it help regulate that?
So GLP-1 enhances the release of insulin. But here's the really interesting part. It's glucose dependent, meaning it primarily helps lower blood sugar after you've eaten when glucose levels are naturally higher. And importantly, it does this without the risk of hypoglycemia, because its action is linked to those elevated glucose levels.
Oh, I see.
This improved insulin response is key for a couple of reasons. One is that consistently high blood sugar can contribute to more fat storage.
So it's helping prevent that by keeping blood sugar stable.
Precisely. And it does this in another way, too, by reducing the secretion of glucagon.
Right, I remember reading about that. Glucagon is a hormone that raises blood sugar.
You got it. It signals the liver to produce more glucose. So by decreasing glucagon, GLP-1 provides another mechanism for keeping those blood sugar levels stable.
Wow. So to summarize, GLP-1 is tackling weight management on multiple fronts.
Yes.
We have appetite suppression, slower digestion, which leads to feeling full for longer,
Right?
and a more balanced insulin response.
It's a comprehensive approach.
It is. Now let's switch gears and talk about GIP. When I first learned about it, I got the impression that it was a bit more of a mixed bag in terms of weight, maybe even potentially leading to weight gain.
Yeah, that was definitely the initial thought,
Wow.
based on the early understanding. But our knowledge has evolved.
Okay.
And now we know that GIP has a synergistic relationship with GLP-1. It actually works with it.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's less about what GIP does on its own and more about its combined power with GLP-1.
That's a great way to put it. In fact, medications that act on both GIP and GLP-1 receptors, like tirzepatide, have been shown to lead to even greater weight loss than medications that only target GLP-1.
So it's like they're working together as a team for greater effect.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. But beyond this partnership with GLP-1, what are some of the independent benefits of GIP for weight and metabolism that we now understand better?
Well, one key area is insulin sensitivity. GIP has been shown to improve how responsive the body's cells are to insulin, so your body can use glucose more efficiently, rather than storing it as fat. So even on its own, GIP contributes to a healthier metabolism.
Right. And there's some early research, too, about GIP playing a role in how many calories we burn. What do we know about that?
It's still early, but emerging evidence suggests that GIP might increase energy expenditure, meaning it could help your body burn more calories.
Wow.
But it's important to remember that research is ongoing.
Right. So let's recap what we know about GIP. It seems to have a significant impact on the insulin response. And there's that potential for increased calorie burning, especially when it's working alongside GLP-1.
Precisely. They work in concert to produce more significant reductions in appetite, body weight, and blood glucose.
Wow. The ultimate metabolic power couple. So we've talked about the power of these hormones, GLP-1 and GIP.
Right.
But a lot of people want to know, how can we support them naturally? Beyond pharmaceuticals. That brings us to the information about natural ingredients. So let's explore some potential options.
Okay, sounds good. But first, a little disclaimer. These natural ingredients do show promise, but their effects might be more subtle than pharmaceutical options.
Of course.
And they can vary from person to person. However, they can definitely be valuable tools in a holistic approach to health.
Okay, that's fair. So the first one on the list is berberine extract. It says it can support GLP-1 secretion and improve insulin sensitivity. What do we know about that?
Berberine is found in several plants, and research suggests it can have a positive influence on both GLP-1 and insulin. It seems to help with the release of GLP-1 from the gut and also makes cells more responsive to insulin.
I see. What about curcumin? The information highlights the importance of using a phytosome or liquid liposomal form.
Yes. That's about bioavailability. Regular curcumin isn't absorbed very well, so these other forms are used to improve absorption, so you get more benefit from it.
So what does curcumin do in terms of GLP-1?
The information suggests it might play a role in GLP-1 modulation, helping to regulate its activity.
Okay, interesting. The next one is inulin syrup, which is a prebiotic fiber. What's the connection between fiber and these hormones?
So prebiotic fibers, like inulin, are fermented by good bacteria in your gut.
Okay.
This produces short-chain fatty acids, and those have been linked to some really great health benefits, including potentially boosting GLP-1 secretion.
Makes sense. And of course, it's good for the gut microbiome in general, which is so important.
It really is. Now, the next ingredient is interesting, Forskohli extract from Coleus Forskohli.
Right. It mentions stimulating GLP-1 through CAMP activation. What does that mean exactly?
Well, Forskohli activates an enzyme called adenylate cyclase. This enzyme increases levels of something called cyclic AMP, or CAM-MP. It acts as a messenger molecule inside cells, and in certain gut cells, raising those CAM-MP levels can stimulate GLP-1 release.
Okay, that's pretty complex, but fascinating. The next one is green tea extract.
Good one.
Specifically EGCG. It's mentioned for enhancing GLP-1 response and providing antioxidant support. So it helps GLP-1 be more effective.
That's the idea. EGCG is a potent antioxidant found in green tea, and research suggests it might make the body more responsive to GLP-1. Plus, you get the added benefits of those antioxidants.
Right. Now, alpha-lipoic acid is also listed. It's highlighted for improving insulin action and glucose metabolism, but it doesn't specifically say it boosts GLP-1 or GIP. So how does it fit into this whole picture?
So alpha-lipoic acid is a powerful antioxidant that plays a role in energy production within cells.
I see.
And by improving insulin action and glucose metabolism, it really complements the effects of GLP-1 and GIP in terms of keeping blood sugar in a healthy range and potentially reducing fat storage.
Right. It's like they all work together. Okay, now we get to two ingredients that seem to more directly boost GLP-1 and GIP. Hydrolyzed whey protein and MCT oil. Let's talk about the whey protein first.
All right, so hydrolyzed whey protein is basically a pre-digested form of whey. It's more easily absorbed, and studies have shown that it increases levels of both GLP-1 and GIP after meals.
Oh, wow. So the type of protein we eat can directly impact those hormones.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder if that's why sometimes you feel so full for so long after a protein-heavy meal.
It could very well be.
Interesting. Now, what about MCT oil?
So MCT oils are medium-chain triglycerides, and the C8 and C10 varieties in particular have been shown to stimulate the release of both GLP-1 and GIP in the gut.
Yeah.
It's called lipid-triggered release, another example of how what we eat influences our hormones.
Okay. Lastly, we have mangiferin and resveratrol.
Yes, an interesting combination.
It mentions they are potential natural DPP-4 inhibitors.
Right.
What does that even mean?
So think of DPP-4, or dipeptidyl peptidase 4, as an enzyme that breaks down incretin hormones, like GLP-1 and GIP.
Okay.
So by inhibiting DPP-4, these compounds can potentially preserve the levels of GLP-1 and GIP, helping them last longer in the body.
Oh, so they're like protectors of GLP-1 and GIP.
Exactly.
Very cool. The information also suggests taking these extracts in divided doses with meals, and of course, always under the guidance of a healthcare practitioner.
Good advice. It's always best to consult with a professional.
All right, so to wrap things up, it's clear that GLP-1 and GIP are key players in managing weight and overall metabolic health. They work in so many ways, from controlling appetite to regulating insulin, and the combination of the two seems particularly potent.
I agree. And it's exciting that, in addition to pharmaceutical options, we are learning more about natural ingredients that can provide support by influencing how our bodies produce and use GLP-1 and GIP.
Right. It really highlights the intricate connection between our gut and our overall health. And it makes you wonder what other amazing things we might discover about these hormones and what other gut-derived signals are doing in our bodies. What other roles do they play? And how can we influence them through our diet and lifestyle choices? So much to explore. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure. It was a great